Hi everyone, and welcome to the Timmins Museum's virtual workshop series where we create crafts and do art in the safety of our home. So we are back with some date night craft kits. You have your kit at home right now, and this time we're going to be making some candles, which is super cozy, super fun. They smell awesome. So we're going to go over all the stuff that you have in your kit so you know what we're working with, and then we'll go step by step on how to create your candle, and then you can enjoy a little bit of charcuterie afterwards. Okay, so the first step is to melt your wax. So you're going to need to get your pot of water. I have about 1.5 to 2 inches of water in my pot. I'm going to turn that on to boil. We want to make it boil, so I'll put it on max for now. And before it gets too hot, I want you to take your ring from your mason jar lid and you're going to place it in the middle of your pot. And that will help separate the base of your mason jar and the bottom of the pot, so the water can go underneath and heat up in there too, so that you can evenly heat and melt your wax. I'm going to be using a different jar to melt my wax in because, well, I only got enough jars for my kit, so I'm going to use another heat safe jar. So as that is starting to boil, you're going to get your wax and you're going to empty half of your bag into your large mason jar. So we'll do that. And then once it gets to a boil, you're going to be putting your wax beads and in their glass jar inside your pot. So we will wait for that to start boiling. All right, so our water has now come to a boil, so I'm just going to turn it down to a medium high, and then make sure that my ring is in the middle. Then I'm going to place you're going to place your mason jar that is full of the wax beads on top of the lid. All right, so the main thing when making candles is temperature. So you want to make sure that you don't heat up the wax too much. It should be evenly. So you're going to get your oven mitts on, and you're going to make sure that you are stirring often while your wax is melting. And we're going to be bringing the wax up to about 180 to 200 degrees. So we're just going to keep stirring it, taking a break, and eventually it will melt, and you'll know that it's ready once all the little beads are melted, and you'll have the liquid, and it's kind of like a clear yellowish liquid. So once you have no little particles left, you know that you've reached the proper temperature. So we're going to do that, stirring often until it's all melted. Okay, so it looks like our wax has fully melted. So yours should look, sorry, I'll hold it at a better angle here. It should look like this, clear, no white little specks. So at that point your wax is melted enough, so you're going to take it out of your pot, turn off your element, and then we're going to set it aside, and we're going to let that cool for about 5 minutes, and then we'll be moving on to the step where we add our fragrance. All right, so once you've allowed your wax to cool for about 5 minutes, it's at the perfect temperature to add our fragrance. So you're going to be mixing only half of the fragrance that is in your jar. So there's 30 mils in your jar. You're going to use 15 mils per candle. So you would only pour half in. And once you pour it in, I'm pouring it all because I measured perfectly 15 mils. Then you're gonna take your popsicle stick again and stir it and make sure it is in really well. And oh, you can already start smelling how great it smells. So you'll give that a stir. And now, before we pour it into our amber glass jar, you're gonna let it sit for another 5 minutes, and then we'll pour it in. So in the meantime, we'll do our placement of our wick. Okay, so we're going to place our wick in the center of our glass jar. So take off your lid, then you're going to take your glue dot and you're going to remove it from the back. Then you're going to peel off the circle, and then using your popsicle stick, it's very sticky, which is good. And you want to make sure that you use this because you don't want your wick floating around. So in your jar, you would place it right in the middle. Since this is one of your jars for your kids, I'm doing mine in a small mason jar. So I'm going to place it right into the center of my mason jar. And I'm going to push down, make sure that it stays like so. Then you're going to take your wick and place it right in the center of it, and using your smaller popsicle stick or the bigger one, you can push it down to make sure that it is going to stay in place. So as you can see, the wick is far too long, but you're going to keep it this length. Don't cut it yet because we are going to use the length to help center the wick when it's drying. So that's why you have 2 popsicle sticks. I'm going to show you 2 methods of centering, 2 ways that you can use. So right now we're ready to pour our wax. All right, so our wax has now had a chance to cool, and we're going to be pouring the wax into our mason jar now. You're going to need to do this very carefully. It is going to still be hot. You don't want to get it all over yourself, so just pour slowly. So at this point, it's cool enough to the touch, so you're going to slowly pour the wax into your jar. And you want to stop at about a 1/4 inch from the top of your jar. See, I have a little bit extra. If you have a little jar, you want to put it in a glass jar because soy wax burns hot. So you want to make sure that you put it in something that isn't going to explode or anything like that or melt. So now at this point, you can use your 2 popsicle sticks to center your wax in the center. You can do that and it holds it there. Another way that you can do it is to actually wrap the wick around, and then that can keep it centered too. And I kind of like that method because it holds it in place really well. But the other way too, either way. So you want to keep that centered. I'm just going to not spin it the whole way. And then maybe use my other one to keep it in place. Okay, so now it's centered. You're going to let it sit and cool for about an hour. Then it should start looking a little bit more solid and a little more white. And then that's when we're gonna add our spices and our cinnamon. So stay tuned for the next step. Okay, so once your candle wax has had about an hour to cool, it should start to look a little more opaque and white like this. So at this point, you're going to be able to add your whole clove. So we have some star anise, some small cardamom, and some whole spice, as well as a little bit of cinnamon. So I would start, so you can remove your the popsicle sticks. Then I'm going to take a little bit of the cinnamon and I'm just going to sprinkle a tiny bit on top of the candle. And then the surface of the wax is still like, it is moldable, so you'll be able to like push your spices right into the wax and make it look really cute. It really finishes off the candle. All right. So there should be enough star anise to have 2 in your candle, but you don't have to use it all. You can just do as you wish. So there we are. So now we're going to let the candle sit for at least a minimum of 24 hours. And then you're going to use your scissors to trim the wick to be about just a 1/4 inch showing, because you don't want the wick too long, because a longer wick can result in possibly having a fire. So you don't want the flame to be too big. So yeah, now you are complete. Okay, so that completes our candle making workshop. So your candles are complete and they're smelling amazing. I really hope that you enjoyed yourself and that you spent some time with someone that you love while enjoying some really good food from Sweet and Salty Charcuterie. Stay tuned for our next Date Night Craft Kit, and we look forward to seeing you again.